Leonard sat on the porch, his Bible open, the cool evening breeze stirring its pages. The sky was painted with soft hues of orange and purple as the day slowly faded. He looked up as Rita stepped outside, her hands wrapped around a steaming cup of tea. Without a word, she sat beside him, their quiet companionship speaking volumes. "Do you remember when we had no idea what was next?" she asked, her voice gentle yet thoughtful. Leonard chuckled, closing his Bible. "Which time?" "There were so many moments when we had to trust God without knowing the outcome." She smiled, but he was faithful every time. Years ago, they had faced one of their hardest decisions. Leonard had been offered a job in another city. A promising opportunity, but one that meant leaving behind everything familiar. They had prayed fervently, asking God for clarity. The uncertainty was overwhelming, but they held on to the words of Scripture. "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." Philippians 4:6. Night after night, they sought God's direction. When answers didn't come immediately, they turned to His word for guidance. One verse stood out above the rest. "Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path." Psalm 119, 105. With that assurance, they took a leap of faith and moved. The transition was anything but easy. There were financial struggles, moments of doubt, and nights where they questioned if they had misunderstood God's leading. Yet, even in the waiting, they reminded themselves of His promises. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. The answers didn't come right away, but in time, they saw the hand of God at work. Leonard's new job became more than just employment. It became a ministry. Rita found herself mentoring young women in their church, pouring into lives in ways she had never expected. Every challenge they had faced had led them exactly where they needed to be. But faith wasn't just about the victories. They had walked through seasons of heartbreak too. The hardest of them all was their struggle with infertility. The prayers, the waiting, the disappointment, it was a trial they never anticipated. There were days when their faith wavered, when they asked God why He had not answered. But even in their pain, they held on to hope. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. James 1:2-3. God didn't give them the answer they had expected, but He gave them something even greater: peace. Over time, they realized that their purpose was far bigger than they had imagined. They became spiritual parents, mentoring young couples, supporting children in need, and pouring love into those God had placed in their lives. Leonard exhaled, glancing over at Rita as she leaned her head on his shoulder. "Seeking God's guidance has changed everything," he murmured. "It's given us purpose," she agreed. "Even when we don't see the full picture, we know who holds it." A peaceful silence settled between them. They had walked through uncertainty, endured trials, and trusted in God's perfect timing. Now, as they sat together under the fading light, they knew one thing for certain. When you seek God's guidance, He leads you exactly where you need to be. And so, they would keep walking in faith, one step at a time.